and track the conversation later. So just to give an overview of the scheme, the Public Service Superannuation Scheme was established under the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act of 2012. The scheme was operationalized on the 1st of January 2021. So members, you've noticed beginning 1st of January 2021 that there was an introduction of a deduction into your payslip. So that is primarily driven by the fact that this pension scheme is a defined contributory pension scheme. So as a member, you contribute a percentage of your income towards the pension, and your employer also contributes a fraction, or that is 15% of your income, of your basic pay, towards your retirement benefits. So the essence of this monthly webinar series is just to appraise you and to educate you on the progress in terms of your contributions and where we are investing your money and how you can monitor how much you have contributed since you joined this pension scheme. So over time, we have been receiving questions from you. And so we have put together this session to address those frequently asked questions. So we have a set of about 30 questions that are common from the questions that we have been receiving over time. So we want to have the first section of this webinar addressing those questions. Then we'll have a Q&A session, maybe after about 30 minutes, inviting you to also ask questions that may not necessarily have been covered during that first session. So my colleague Douglas Asanya, who will be joining us in a few minutes, will be handling those questions. And after that, we'll also be taking your questions through the chat. So we have opened the chat function. So in case you have any questions that may not have been covered here, please address them during the chat. One of us is picking those questions and we respond to you. So the structure of this 1 hour, sorry, we have started quite a bit late, but we intended this session to be an hour. So the structure is such that in the first 30 minutes, we'll address the FAQs. Then in the next 30 minutes, we'll also pick questions from you through the chat. And we'll also give you the mic to ask the questions should you want to do so. So I noticed that Pauline Muthoni, Amos Agini, you've raised your hand. Allow me not to invite you to speak at this point. Let's have Douglas present on the frequently asked questions. And then at some point in the session, we'll also invite you, of course, Amos and Pauline will give you priority now that you had requested to speak a bit earlier so that you can raise your questions. So once again, thank you, members. We send the apologies of our CEO, Dr. Jonah Yabe, who would have wished to join us for this session, but he's engaged elsewhere. But if time allows, and if his schedule allows, he will join us for the session. So asanteni members, as I'm waiting for Douglas Asanyo to join us so that we can proceed. Thank you, members. I'm being informed that Douglas is having a bit of a technical challenge. So he'll be joining us in a few. But before he does so, I just want to run you through a few announcements that we would want you to also take note of as members. So I'll move to the next slide. I'm sharing my screen, and I hope as members you can follow what we are sharing on the screen. So we have a few updates that we would like to share with you. Number one is that since inception of the scheme, we've primarily been based at Bima House, 6th floor. That is, Bima House is on Harambee Avenue. But we have recently moved into a new office space at CBK Pension Tower, 1st floor. So in case you have any query or you would want to pay us a visit, we are at the CBK Pension Tower, 1st floor, Harambee Avenue. You may also reach out to us on phone. Our number is 0746 0746 111 777. So if you have a personalized inquiry that you would like to make, you can always reach us out to us through that number, 0746 111 777. You can also write us an email. That is at info@pssf.go.ke. info@pssf.go.ke. So I see Douglas has joined us. Douglas, welcome to the session. I just mentioned to members that you'll be making a presentation on the frequently asked questions, and then we'll invite the members to raise questions. We'll give them the mic, or they can also send us the questions through the chat. Thank you, Douglas. Please
welcome members again. Thank you. Members, welcome again for this webinar. I think the introduction has been done by Laban Njoroge, and I hope he has also informed you that we are now in a new location, which is a bit spacious, and the offices are open to receive members and attend to your issues or concerns at any time during working hours. But we are also online on social media channels that we always address your concerns at any time of the day or night. So the new offices are CBK Pension Towers, first floor. We moved here a month ago, and this is where we'll be serving you from. But also in due course, we'll be getting to the regions and get near you so that you don't have to travel all the way. But as always, you can reach us on phones and social media websites. I want to remind us that, yes, most of us know about the scheme, but there are critical areas that we need to update our records on, which are very critical on our membership and the benefits. And this is what you can see from the screen number 2 on beneficiary nomination forms. We note that most members have not updated their beneficiaries, and this brings a challenge where if a member, God forbid, dies in service, the scheme is unable to reach out to your beneficiaries so that we can process your benefits and pay in good time to avoid any other delays. So we are requesting that members download the forms from our website, psss.go.ke, and also from other employers' websites like Public Service Commission website, Teacher Service Commission website, and most of them are still in all the ministries. So you can download, update them, and send to the scheme now that you have the new address, so that we can have your records in the event of death, we are able to pay in good time. I also want to mention that most of you are aware of the contribution rates. You can always see them on your payslips that the member contribution is at 7.5% of your basic salary, and the employer, who is government, contributes for you 15% of your basic salary, bringing a total of 22.5% of a member's basic salary per month that is remitted to the scheme for your retirement benefits. Over and above this, a member is allowed to boost their own retirement savings by doing additional voluntary contributions. And again, this you can do by downloading a form and giving instruction to your employer, who will then effect the deductions as you will wish to remit to boost your savings in the scheme. This will be done not in a percentage, but an absolute figure. Let's say 5,000, 10,000, or whichever amount that you wish to remit. And you should note that these remittances that you'll be doing on additional voluntary contributions will not be matched by your employer, because this is voluntary and it's personal to the member. To add on that, if you do an AVC, you still benefit from the taxation where a member is allowed to give up to 20,000 Kenya shillings per month towards the pension savings, and you don't attract tax on that, meaning that your pension contribution is deducted from your pay before now the remainder is subjected to pay as you earn. I also want to add after that we are currently reviewing our legal framework so that we can serve you better. we note that our Act, the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act, CAP 189A, was enacted in 2012. By then it was PSSS Act number 8 of 2012. We need several other changes that have occurred in the industry, the pension industry, and we need to review it to align with the current trends and best practices. So we've already drafted a bill and also developed regulations to help us operationalize the act so that we can serve you better. So in due course, in a week or two, we will be coming to where you are, and we will require that you send your memoranda on any other issue that you feel should be captured in the proposed amendment bill. So we'll be sharing that through our website and other channels so that a member can also participate through these issues so that you can participate on how the scheme is run because the scheme is yours. As you can see from the screen, we've shown you how you can download those forms by going across to the members portal where you will be able to go to members forms. You'll get those beneficiary nomination forms and also the additional voluntary contribution form, which you can use to update your records. I wish now to move straight to questions. When we did our AGM on 7th June 2023, most members raised questions that we feel we need to address. Some of them have been addressed individually to the members' addresses that they provided, and some we continue addressing them as they come up on our social media pages. But now, for the benefit of all members, I want to go through a few questions and try to provide some good answers so that we can all be informed. And the first one is, how do I access my statement? It is important for us to track our retirement savings every month so that at some point we know how much we have and how we can even do those additional voluntary contributions to boost our retirement savings. You can access this through the statement through two ways: by using USSD code, that is *378# *378#. It will direct you on what you need to do for you to access those statements. You can also log in through a link, which is members.psss.or.ke. Those are the two ways that you can access the statement. And please note that the USSD might not give a full statement, but if you go to the link, you'll be able to access all your entire statement from when you join the scheme up to the current contributions. So I'll wish to move to the second. You've seen the USSD code, *378, and the link is as highlighted in your screens. Let me move to the second question. The difference between the old scheme and the new scheme. The old scheme, we mean the defined benefit scheme that is administered under the Pensions Department of the National Treasury. It was an uncontributory scheme, whereas the new scheme, the scheme that we call now PSSS, is a contributory pension scheme serving the same employees in the public service as was the case in the old scheme. The difference is those who are below 45 years, as at on 1st January 2021, were moved automatically due to the operation of the law to the contributory scheme and now are no longer members of the old scheme. However, the old scheme has not been closed, but it is closed only to new entrants, but it continues operation and will continue serving those members who are above 45 years as at 2021 and those who didn't opt to join the new scheme. So we can move. I hope that is clear enough. A question has been coming up on if the lump sum paid to the spouse is the lump sum paid to the spouse in the event of death of a member while in service. Members, In the event of death of the principal member, the member who is contributing, the law provides that the total retirement savings of that member is payable to that beneficiary. That is why we keep insisting that please update your beneficiary record so that in the event of death, we know the scheme knows who to pay so that we are still able to pay within 30 days as prescribed in the regulations. And the next question then happens, what if in the event of death of a member while in retirement and receiving a pension? This will depend on what the member opted for at the time of retirement. When a member retires, they get a lump sum of a third of the total, up to a third of the total savings in that retirement benefits account, and the 2/3 goes into either purchasing an annuity or going for a drawdown plan. This is a new contract where the member now utilizes the 2/3 for either of the two, the drawdown or the annuity. And it is in that contract of the new annuities, which we call a monthly pension, that the member will decide what happens in the event of death. If a member wishes to include a beneficiary, then that contract will state that in the event of death while in retirement and receiving a pension, then that pension will move to the beneficiary as prescribed in the contract of the annuity. But in the event of a drawdown, then again, it's another contract where the remainder or the unutilized savings goes to the beneficiary. I hope that is good enough as we move to the next one because of time. If a member dies, if I die, will my dependents get a third or the entire amount? As I've explained in the previous slide, in the event of death of a member, the beneficiaries, the nominated beneficiaries get the entire retirement savings in the member's account in full amount. It is upon the beneficiaries to know how to utilize that. Some can even go and get the annuities from wherever they wish, but the law provides that we pay the full amount to the beneficiaries. And in the event of death of a pensioner, does the lump sum discriminate gender, i.e. male benefiting from a spouse and all that? This is addressed in the contributory pension schemes arrangement. Unlike in the old scheme, as we've spoken about, where the old scheme, the defined benefit scheme was not a contributory scheme, it is operated under a different legal framework, which provides on how members or beneficiaries of the principal member are supposed to benefit. In any contributory arrangement in this country, as regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority, there is no discrimination. The scheme only pays those nominated beneficiaries regardless of the relationship of that member. So a male can benefit from the spouse retirement benefits, or either way, the benefits can go to the children, can go to the parents or whoever that member has nominated, as long as there's no dispute in regard to that after the member's death. We can move to the next. Members have been asking, why do they tax our benefits or pension, yet they are taxing our gross income before pay is deducted? But I don't think they meant pay, but there are concerns that there is an issue of double taxation, that your income is taxed while you're in employment, and then also pension is taxed while in retirement. Members, in regard to contributory pension schemes, the law provides that now that is the Income Tax Act Cap 470. It provides that we have some reliefs from pension contributions where up to a maximum of 20,000 is not taxed, in the sense that up to a maximum of 20,000 is deducted from your pay before you can be subjected to tax. So we are running a framework where your pension contributions are not taxed. Your incomes from that pension investment returns, or investment income from investments from pension contributions are also not taxed. You're only subjected to tax when now you are receiving that benefit as a retirement benefit at the time of retirement. But remember, there is no double taxation because I've said you're exempt in the contributions, exempt in the investment income, and only taxed at the end. So you're only taxed once at retirement. And that taxation only happens up to the age of 65. Above 65, your pension will not be subjected to tax. And for those of us who have been following the recent trends, the recently rejected finance bill had even proposed that we also exempt the taxation at the time that you are accessing your benefits. But then since we know Gen Z happened and that act has already been, the finance bill has already been thrown out, then it means that good things were also thrown out with the bad things. But then again, all is not lost because the Retirement Benefits Authority and other stakeholders like PSSS are still pursuing this, and I know it will be reintroduced in Parliament through some amendments so that members can benefit from tax-free pension. Another question, how do you respond to market volatility and economic downturns? We operate, or pension schemes operate, which PSSS belong, in a regulated environment. We know we have trustees who are taking care of your money, and these trustees have fiduciary responsibility and due of care when doing investments. So as we look for returns, we are also careful on where we are investing. That is why the scheme is led by the investment policy statement that has been developed that is guiding on which areas of the economy we are investing your funds. And this is also done through a fund manager who has been contracted by PSSS and who works on a contract of 3 years, and it can only be renewed if we have satisfactory performance. So we diversify so that we are able to manage the volatility so that if one sector of the economy doesn't perform, the other one will perform. And at the end of the day, at the end of the financial year, when returns are announced, the member has something that his contributions are growing. Because at the end of the day, you're not getting only your contributions, but we're also giving something on top to guard against inflation so that your benefits are not depreciating due to inflation. So that is taken care of, and we've been getting good returns. We are still on payment of annuities. A member was asking, suppose a pensioner dies after receiving a third of the contributions made. What happened to the remaining 2/3 of the amount, which was to be paid as an annuity? Members, annuities, once you take a third as a lump sum, you sign a contract with an annuity institution, that an institution that will give you an annuity, or go to a drawdown fund and have that income drawdown plan on how you will utilize the monthly pension. But if this happens at the time that you are yet to sign the contract, that money is still with the scheme and then it will be paid to your beneficiaries. But if at the time of death, you've already signed a contract and the funds have moved to the other institution, then it will be paid according to the contract that you will have been signed by the member with that institution. The next question is, what are the rates which interests are paid? This is solely dependent on the performance of the economy and where the scheme has invested. And I said in the previous slide, we've diversified and well enough, and we continue to do that so that our funds or our investments give good returns. In the year that ended 30th June 2023, 2023, sorry, we declared 5%, 5.4% investment income, and we had an absolute figure of about 5 billion as profits for the scheme. And this is members' money, and that has already been distributed proportionately to the members' retirement savings account, which, as we've said, you can always access through getting your member statements. In the year before, we had 10%. So we continue doing that so that we get good returns at the time of exit. The member can smile home all the way to the bank. We have an issue of WCPS. And a member was asking that we had said it will be computed and refunded as a lump sum. WCPS is the Widows and Children Pension Scheme, and that is administered under the National Treasury Pensions Department. This is a benefit which male officers were contributing and belong to the WCPS scheme, that their spouses can, their wives or widows and children can benefit in the event of death of these members, either in service or in retirement. But upon transition to the contributory pension scheme, members of PSSS now ceased being members of WCPS, and contributions are no longer going to that scheme. So for this one, this is a benefit under the old scheme. And currently, I understand the National Treasury is doing an actual evaluation of those benefits, and letters recognizing those accrued benefits will be issued once the process is complete, and communication will be done to all members. The next question is, suppose a pensioner lives a period longer than its calculated monthly benefits, i.e., if monthly is 20K for 5 years, but he lives for 10 years. In other words, what determines monthly benefits? Is it your total amount saved for the period one remains alive? This is a technical question, but annuities are calculated using a formula that has been developed and agreed on by actuaries. I'm not an actuary myself, but then we have tested formulas that are used to calculate those monthly pensions through annuities. So that one, when they calculate and find that maybe you are worth to be paid a certain amount for, let's say, 20 years, and you outlive that, the contract says that annuities are paid for life. So this means that even if you outlive the period of that annuity, you still continue getting paid until death. So there's no worry, just like in the old scheme, even in the contributory scheme, if you purchase an annuity, you ought to be paid till death. Members are also asking, if I get a third of my savings as lump sum, isn't that my 7.5% contribution, since the employer's contribution of 15% is equivalent to 2/3? What is the role of the employer, I guess, towards my retirement savings? Members, the 7.5, the third that you get as a lump sum is of the total savings. When you do 7.5% and the employer does 15%, that is 22.5%, these funds are invested cumulatively, not separate like for your member and the employer. The total figure is invested. Your additional voluntary contribution are invested, and they continue growing on a compounding interest kind of arrangement. At the end of the day, when you exit the service, and you are now retiring, you access up to a third. It's not necessary, it doesn't have to be a third, but it is up to a third. It is a member's choice to pick up to a third and the remainder to go into a monthly pension. And this two-thirds is not the 15% of the employer contribution, because the contribution can vary. Tomorrow, the government or the employer can decide to increase that amount or lower as the members are increasing their contributions. So their third and two-thirds is as per the Retirement Benefits Authority, but also that is also covered under the PSSS Act, under which this scheme is anchored or administered. And for those employees who opted to join PSSS, how will they access their accrued benefits? The accrued benefits are for both those who opted to join and those who joined mandatorily due to the operation of the law. If you joined as at 2021 and you're below 45, and another one opted to join even if they were maybe 50 years, once you become a member of PSSS, you are treated the same way and your accrued benefits are recognized by the law, the PSSS Act under Section 50. And that is for the reason I've mentioned that National Treasury is currently undertaking an exercise of actuarial evaluation to determine those benefits. And the letters will be issued in due course once the process is complete. I need to explain more on death benefits. Death benefits is a benefit going to a beneficiary upon the death of a principal member, the one who is in service. This, as I explained earlier, in the event of death of a member, the death benefits are the total retirement savings of that member in the retirement savings account that is being maintained by the administrator. So the entire amount will go to the beneficiaries, apportioned as per the percentages as the member had nominated them to be paid. To add on that, the PSSS law has also provided that we have a death benefit in form of group life cover. That members is already being covered by the employers. I know TSC is currently going through a tender process to provide that. The Public Service Commission is already providing that group life cover, where in the event of death of a member, there is a specified amount of a minimum of 3 times the employee's annual basic salary, but currently the public service is doing 5 times. The law provides 3 times, so Public Service Commission is doing it to all civil servants. I know TSC is also now doing it. The National Police Service is also giving that group life cover. So that constitutes death benefits. But please note, the group life cover is covered by the employer, whereas the PSSS will pay the benefits that are in the retirement savings account of that principal member. And if in the event of death and you realize that the member never updated their next of kin when he dies or when he remarried, I wish to inform members that once you nominate your beneficiaries, it doesn't end there. When your circumstances change, when your social status change, marital status or whichever, if today you have a wife and tomorrow you add 2, or you have 1 child and you have now 5, please update your beneficiary nomination forms at any time, so that even if it's yearly, please do whenever your status change, so that the scheme doesn't get a difficult time tracing or trying to know who is to be paid. But in the event you never updated or you never completed any beneficiary nomination forms, then the Board of Trustees has a role to play in that, where they will try to investigate to know who is your beneficiary or who is your next of kin, so that they can determine how to pay your benefits. But remember, this can delay payment towards your beneficiaries. So I'll insist again, it's very important to have those forms submitted to the scheme. And now that you have our address to be the CBK Pension Towers, please do so. Visit the websites, download, complete them, and submit to us. For those who have submitted, please make sure you update if there is a change of your status. What happens once contributions when one decides to quit the public service before retirement? Again, here there is no discrimination. Unlike the old scheme where you had to forfeit your retirement benefits because it was not funded and you are not contributing in a contributory scheme, pension scheme arrangement, your contributions vest in you immediately they are made. So in the event that you're changing employment, then you can opt to either leave your retirement savings with the scheme, and you can access them upon attainment of the retirement age, which is 50 for early retirement or 60 the mandatory. You can access them. You also have an option if you move to another employer and they have a similar pension scheme, a registered pension scheme. And registered in this sense, we mean registered by the Retirement Benefits Authority. You can notify the scheme and we will transfer your benefits, the total savings, to the other registered pension scheme. Will members benefit from the income earned from investments and at what rate? This has already been covered. Members are benefiting every year. Once the books of accounts are audited by the Auditor General, and trustees meet and declare that annual return, then the same is credited to individual retirement savings account of all the members. So we are benefiting as members. Does the policy allow for people to go back to the old scheme? The law doesn't allow. You can only belong to one. And that old scheme administered by the National Treasury and the Pensions Department, the Pensions Act Cap 189 and the Widows and Children Pension Scheme Cap 195 are already closed. Once a member moves to PSSS, either by opting in or by being within the age provided for in the law, then at the time of exit, you'll only be paid from one end. If you're a PSSS member, you will be paid from PSSS for the period that you are serving and contributing to PSSS. So you cannot go back to the old scheme. For the members who have retired, resigned, or dismissed, how long does it take for them to be paid? I can only speak for PSSS or the pension contributory arrangements. RBA provides that a member is paid within 30 days of exit from the service of that employer. So in this case, if you retire, we ought to pay you within 30 days. If you resign, you'll still be paid as per the rules or the regulations of the scheme. Or even if you are dismissed, you also have the right to your retirement benefits, and this will be processed as per the rules, meaning if you're above 50, then you can access your third and two-thirds goes into your monthly pension. If you are below, then still the law will apply. This one, for the 30 days, it must be when you submit complete and correct forms that are needed at the time of exit for us to process your pension. So if you delay from your end or from your employer,
Douglas, your mic is on mute. Please unmute.
sorry for that.
Proceed.
What I'm saying, it will take only 30 days for you, a member, to receive your retirement benefits. And this, I mean, 30 days will start from the time we receive complete benefits claim forms. So if there is a delay from a member's end or from the employer's end, we cannot pay within those 30 days. So please ensure before you exit, your records are in order and you complete that form, submit to us. It's upon the submission of the completeness and correctness of that form that we can start the process and pay in under 30 days. Currently, we are trying to do that for the part of the contributions made under PSSS for those members who have already exited. We move to the next question because I can see time is running and we're coming to the end of the slides. So what is the difference between NSSF and PSSF now that both are contributory schemes? And what are the benefits of PSSF and NSSF? Members, this NSSF is operated and administered under the National Social Security Fund Act of 2013, whereas PSSS is under the Public Service Superannuation Scheme Act, Cap 189, which was enacted in 2012. So they are separate schemes. NSSF is a social scheme that covers the entire country, all employees in the country. And it is administered as per that law through different trustees. PSSS is a separate scheme administered under that act of PSSS and has a separate board. And this is an occupational pension scheme and covers only members of the public service as highlighted in the act. That is teachers under TSC, civil servants, discipline services, that is the National Youth Service, Kenya Prisons, and the National Youth Service. So they are separate in the sense that one is an occupational scheme and the other one is a social scheme that covers all employees. And their benefits are separate. I can only talk of PSSF, which we already know the benefits, the third, the 2/3 for annuities and all that. We also know NSSF, we're also contributing there because it's a mandatory, it's a statutory scheme. I can even give an example of where, as an employee, you have a comprehensive medical cover from your employer, and you're also doing statutory contributions to NHIF. And you see NHIF is a social insurance scheme, just like NSF being a social security scheme for all Kenyans. PSSF specifically for employees in the public service, as highlighted earlier. So members, I come to the end of these questions, but I will wish to hand over back to Njoroge for any other member who has a question either leading from my presentation as I ran through these questions or a burning question that has been lingering in your mind. So please, you raise up your hand and Njoroge will take it up and my colleagues will be able to work with me as we respond to you. And please note that for those who are unable to be identified through raising their hands, please write in the chat room. We will be able to respond to you all the questions. And in the event that at the end of this exercise, we are unable to answer your question, please go to our social media pages and contact us. We will be ready to work along with you as you plan for your retirement. Thank you. Njoroge.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you, members. I think we have received quite a number of questions, about 10 questions through the chat. So I want to invite Solomon from our fund administrator to also assist in answering some of these questions. Before we invite you, I see quite a number of members have also raised their hand. They want to ask the questions. So before we do so, let's take the questions that have been raised on the chat. Solomon Kogo. There was a question raised by Benedict Maingi. They ask how soon are the officers who have since retired as late as this July going to be paid their lump sum pension? I think that was partly addressed by Douglas. Bellington asks, can I use my savings to acquire property? Martin Opio asks, what happens when the employer fails to submit their contribution? Solomon, are you with us? I would wish you to take the two questions. Let's first take the two questions by Bellington and Martin Opio. Kogo, please, if you're with us, proceed.
Yeah. Good afternoon, members. I'm Solomon Kogo from CPF. We are responsible for maintaining your records and paying your benefits when you exit service. I'll start with a question on accessing benefits or using benefits to borrow a mortgage or securing a house. As we speak now, the PSSF does not provide, does not have that facility to enable you borrow a mortgage using your benefits as security. However, I think when, as mentioned by Douglas, that they'll be coming around to take stakeholders' views, you may make suggestion of whether you want that facility to be available for you, so that it can be considered as they develop further policies of the fund. The other question was on Gumbo, what was the other question?
Martin Opio asked about issues of remittance. What happens when the employer fails to submit the contribution?
Yes, the law provides that if the employer delays to remit contributions, those contributions will attract interest for the period that they remain unremitted. So there's that provision in the Act, and therefore members do not lose out in the event the employer delays to remit. Eventually, those contributions will come in and will apply interest for the period that they've remained unremitted.
Thank you. Jacinta asks, where do I drop my updated nomination form? Jacinta, you can drop that form in our offices. As Douglas mentioned earlier, we are now at CBK Pension Tower, first floor. You can also scan that form and share with us on email through info@pssf.go.ke. You can also share through info@psss.go.ke. There's a question that came from an anonymous member. This is also to you, Solomon Kogo. My statement shows last update was made in April this year. Why the delay in statement update? I also want you to combine this question with a question raised by Josiah Mwawana. For those that transited from the non-contributory scheme to the current scheme, what happens to the initial years? I think that has been addressed by Douglas. Does the contribution attract interest over the years? Douglas also mentioned on that, on the investment income. Martin Opio, this is still on the statement. Martin Opio asks, in my statement, the interest do not reflect. What do I do? So Solomon, take those two questions. Their last update was made in April this year. Why the delay? And they're saying, Martin Opio says that he can't see his interest on the statement.
The updating of contributions is an ongoing exercise where, first of all, before we credit the members' contributions, we must reconcile the records between contribution schedules and remittances. So this exercise is ongoing, and I believe in the next few weeks, all contributions will be updated. However, because I don't know the specific reason why that particular member's statement has gaps, I will request that they send the details via the email provided earlier, so that we can look at the specific cases for each individual who has an issue with their statement. The same case applies to the issue on interest that I think we need to check. So let the member send us the details through the email that was provided earlier, so that we can look and address the issue for those specific queries.
The next question still on a statement by an anonymous member. The statement I'm downloading from the portal is not opening. Solomon, so a member says that they're downloading a statement from the portal, but the portal is not opening. What's the format and why would they experience this issue?
For downloading the statement, they must specify the period. For example, if you want to view your statement for the year ended 30th June 2023, you must specify the period between 1st July 2022 to 30th June 2023 to be able to download correctly. But if the problem persists, maybe you can get in touch with us so that we can assist him to access the statement. However, when you are downloading a statement, you must be specific because the audit that has been done for 2 years for the period 1st July. The first period was 1st January 2021 to 30th June 2022. The next period, financial period, is 1st July 2023 to 30th June 1st July 2022 to 30th June 2023. So you must specify those two specific periods so that you can download those statements. However, if the members continue experiencing the same problem, let him get in touch with us. We'll be able to assist him to access the statements.
Thank you, Solomon. There's a question from Amos Sagini. Douglas, I want to throw this to you. So Amos Sagini asks, can the monthly pension last more than 20 years? Does it have a limit for payment?
Thanks, Njoroge. I think I also addressed this during my presentation, where I said that, but I can repeat for the benefit of all members again, a monthly pension is supposed to be paid for life. That is what we're calling it, an annuity. It is payable to the member periodically as the member may choose. It can be monthly or quarterly or whichever way they choose, but it must be paid for the life of that member, because the reasons why we establish pension schemes is provide income to replace the salary while a person is in retirement. And we understand retirement only goes all the way until you exit this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. But just before you go, there's a question from Angeline Atieno. At the time of appointment, does the newly appointed officers have to fill the nomination forms as part of the appointment documents?
Thanks, Njoroge. We advise that members complete those forms as they are enrolling or being onboarded as employees into their respective employers, and continually update them whenever their status change, because you will note that the old arrangement, members used to do what we call next of kin forms or nomination at the point of entry, but then again, they always fail to update them and it brings a challenge. But in the contributory arrangement, we are not looking at the next of kin, but beneficiaries. So please nominate beneficiaries at the point of entry and at whatever time that your status change, or you change your mind on who is to benefit from your retirement benefits in the event of death.
Thank you, Douglas. Peterson Kithetu, I believe your question was addressed by Douglas earlier. Your question was on the anomalies in the remittance. That was addressed by Solomon when he talked of he addressed the issues of statements. So what happens to pension before someone joined PSSF? An anonymous attendee asks that. I think that was handled by Douglas and Solomon. I've been contributing since the inception, but as per my statement, there are gaps. How can it be addressed? Solomon Kogo addressed that. Anonymous, we have members who have died and their contributions paid to the beneficiaries. When and who will pay the benefits of the old scheme? Is it PSSF or the National Treasury Pensions Department will pay them? Solomon, do you want to take that? In the event
I
of
think
death of the
Douglas had already
contributor.
responded to that.
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Let's move to the next question.
For PS, maybe I can just reiterate that for PSSS contributions, these are paid by PSSF, and we as the administrators will process PSSF contributions. However, for the past service benefits, I understand that these are going to be paid by the Director of Pension at TNT.
Thank you, Solomon. In the event of death of the contributor, how soon can the next of kin benefit? That is Raya Faraj. I believe that was also addressed by Solomon. Robert Ouko asks, my contributions between 2020 and 2021 were paid to the Director of Pensions. How do I get them transferred to PSSS? That was also addressed. Peter Gikonyo asks, my question is concerning the 2/3 annuity. Do I have a choice in the insurance scheme where I want my 2/3 annuity lump sums to go, or do you choose for me by default? Peter, the choice is up to you. Doreen Okinyo asks, how does one benefit from both the NSSF and PSSF now that I'm a contributor? That was also partly addressed by Douglas in the last slide. How can I access my contributions? Jacinta Mutua asks this. Solomon, I know this could have been addressed by Douglas, but for the benefit of Jacinta Mutua and the rest of the members, how can a member access their contributions?
Yes, contributions can be accessed only when a member exits service. So if a member resigns or is dismissed or retires, that's the point when they can apply to access their benefits. To access statements, you can log on to the website www.psss.or.ke. If you go to that portal, you can download your statement. However, to access your benefits, you can only access them when you exit service. You cannot be paid while you are still under the employment of the government.
Thank you, Solomon. Douglas Mukanda asks, does the interest you receive per year, is it invested back with the rest of the deductions? And why can the interest or income received from investment not be paid as a dividend? Kogo, Douglas Mukanda is asking, why wouldn't he receive the investment income as a dividend?
Yes, remember, this is a retirement benefit scheme whereby you are saving towards your retirement. This is not a savings, a SACCO where you save for accessing loans and doing your personal development. These monies are meant to be accessed at retirement. That's why the contributions and the investment income they earn are reinvested to ensure that you get a sizable kit when you retire. So there's the compounding effect of investment return on your contributions. That's why the investment returns are reinvested. So you cannot access this interest as dividend, because this is an occupational scheme. It's not a SACCO, and it's guarded like that by the law.
Thank you, Kogo. Let's allow a few members to also take the mic and ask questions. Pauline Mudhoni. Pauline, please unmute your mic and ask your question. I notice your hand has been raised for some time. Pauline, if you're with us. As Pauline raises our question, let's move to Stephen Wanjao. Mr. Wanjao, please take the mic. Mr. Stephen Wanjao, please unmute your mic and ask the question. Let's move to the next member, Lillian Murioki.
Yes, thank you. I had raised my questions in the question and answer, but I'll still ask. My question is, what happens to a member of PSSS who has changed employer and the new organization does not have a pension scheme? My other
Right.
question is, does the member continue contributing to PSSS even if the member is no longer a civil servant? Does the member transfer their benefits when the new employer comes up with its pension scheme? I
Right.
also have
Thank you. Yes, proceed.
I have two more questions. Is it possible to transfer contributions to a new pension scheme in the event of changing employer? And can one be a member of two pension schemes? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lillian. Douglas Asanyo, please take that. Lillian is
Yeah,
asking,
Lillian,
I hope you got the question.
I got the question.
Proceed.
Lillian is asking if what happens if you change employment and the new employer, or you move to where there is no pension scheme. In my presentation, I said that you can leave your retirement benefits in the scheme and will continue investing, and your retirement savings will continue growing as per the annual investment rates that will be announced after the auditing of the financial books. But then if you move to a new employer, he doesn't have a scheme, and at some point they establish one. Then again, once registered with RBA, you can request the scheme to transfer your total retirement savings to that new scheme of your new employer. And the next question then, Lillian asked if they can belong to two schemes. This is not possible because this is an occupational scheme. Occupational in the sense that it is established by your employer to provide retirement benefits when you exit. So when you change employment, you don't continue contributing, but you can be a deferred member if you wish to leave those benefits with the scheme. And in this case, maybe PSSS. You will still be a deferred member, but you will not be allowed to contribute. And then you asked if you are not working, but you want to continue contributing. Again, as I said, this is an occupational scheme. You must be in the employment of that employer who has sponsored establishment of the scheme. But in the event that a member wants to belong to a pension scheme, even when they exit service and they've still not attained the retirement age, then they can join any individual pension plan that exists within the retirement benefits industry, and that list can be accessed through the Retirement Benefits Authority website, where a member can opt, even those already in this scheme can get the individual pension plans and contribute there as individuals. But then we advise members, please do additional voluntary contribution to boost your savings within PSSS. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Grace Elkana. Grace, please unmute your mic and ask the question. Joyce. We had Joyce Mukoru.
Yes, okay, my question was, hello?
Yes, Joyce, proceed.
Okay, my question was, what is the role of PSSF in the cases where the employer's summation of the deduction is so erratic? Like an employer remits the contributions for 2 months, skips for 3 months, remits another 1 month, skips 3 months, because that's what we are observing with some of our employers. What is the role of PSSF in that regard?
Thank you. Thank you, Joyce. What is the role of PSSF? Solomon. So in the cases of erratic remittance by the
maybe Douglas
employers,
can
do you have
respond
those
to that.
cases?
Yes, maybe
Douglas?
Douglas can, yes.
Solomon, I wanted you
Joyce,
to address that in terms of, are those cases there? Do we have those cases where employers are not
Yes, we have some
remitting
cases.
member contribution?
Yeah, we have some cases where the erratic remittances, especially from the counties. But I believe Douglas can respond on what measures the fund is taking to address those non-compliance issues.
thank you, Solomon, for attempting to respond to Joyce. We have those few cases, but they are not common. We know there are issues, but for the national government, civil servants in the national government, from the teachers, from National Police Service, the remittances have been up to date. And in the event that we have erratic kind of remittances, then as a scheme, we make follow-ups. We write to these employers where we notice that either some months they have failed to remit, and they've been working with us, where maybe you'll find that it was an error, or maybe they remitted but then didn't send a schedule or a narration of what the payments were for. And sometimes remittance can come after 3 months or 2, but then they combine the previous months. So it's not that they are not remitting or skipping those months. We understand that counties are getting their share of the revenue from the national government. Sometimes there are delays from the releases from the exchequer. But then when that happens, counties are trying to remit. So it is not a big problem, especially from the counties. But whenever we have such, we've even started visiting them and talking to them, trying to show them how important the retirement is to their members. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Abdi, Adan Abdi. Please unmute your mic and ask the question. Bellington Lopua. Kindly, you have not answered my question. Bellington, would you want to take the mic and probably clarify which aspects of your question have not been answered? All right, as we wait for Abdi and Bellington to take the mic, there are a few more questions on the chat. So what happens, this is Grace Elkana, what happens to a new employee who was contributing but never filled the next of kin form? Who gets the benefit? Douglas? So a member did not fill the, and I know you probably addressed this on the issue of updating the beneficiary nomination form. So when a member did not fill the beneficiary nomination form, so who gets the benefits?
In the event that a member has passed on and they never completed and submitted beneficiary nomination forms, then it's upon the Board of Trustees to try and establish the next of kin and beneficiaries of that member. And we said that once now they get those beneficiaries and make a determination, and then that is adhered to, and the beneficiaries get the payment. But we said that can be a challenge, especially if members have families or beneficiaries scattered around the country, or where you have more than one family, so to say, or more than one spouse. So that becomes a challenge. That is why we keep insisting on the beneficiary nomination forms. The member that you said has not raised their questions, but yet to come up again to clarify, was asking if they can use their savings to purchase a house. I want to inform the member that previously we had those regulations that were developed by the Retirement Benefits Authority, but they were challenged. Maybe I think there was a process, the process was not, didn't adhere to the constitution, so they were nullified and no longer in operation. So as currently, from where we sit, a member cannot utilize their savings to purchase a house. The regulations then provided that a member could access up to 40% of their savings, or 7 million Kenya shillings, whichever is higher, to utilize into purchasing a home. But we wait until maybe other regulations come up for the same. So for now, we cannot even now start amending our regulations or the law to provide for that until RBA gives a guideline or a policy on such, because PSSF is regulated by the Retirement Benefits Authority.
Thank you, Douglas. We have a member, Douglas Mukanda. Douglas Mukanda, you had raised your hand. Douglas Mukanda, please unmute and ask the question.
Sorry, no, I had not raised the hand. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you,
mistake, yeah.
Douglas. I'd seen it from this end. Asante, I think we've come to the end of this session. Thank you, members, for joining in. As mentioned at the introductory section, I will be doing a monthly webinars. So this is the second in a series of the monthly webinars. So please check out our social media because we'll be sharing schedules of the webinars on our social media platforms. You can follow us on Facebook at PSSF_Kenya, on X at PSSF_Kenya, and on Instagram at PSSF_Kenya. We have been recording this session, so we'll also be sharing this on our YouTube platform so that members who did not join us for this session can also follow the discussion. In case you have any questions or concerns, you can always call us on the numbers provided on the screen. That is 0746 111 777. You can write to us on email at info@pssf.go.ke or info@psss.go.ke. I want to thank our panelists this afternoon, Douglas Asanyo, Solomon Kogo, and Caroline Mosechi, and Sarah Ngaru, who are with us, and they have been taking the questions behind the scenes. So we'll be sharing these questions on our website. We'll answer all the questions and provide a write-up of all the questions. They'll be available on our website, www.psss.go.ke. Nicholas Maingi, I notice your concern on the portal. Kindly assist. You're saying the portal is not accessible. Please allow us to check. That could be an intermittent network issue. Allow us to check on that after this session. It should be up and running in the next 5 minutes. Thank you, members, for joining us and looking forward to engaging with you during the next webinar. We'll communicate, but ideally it should be the last Thursday of August. Thank you so much. Douglas, any final remarks?
Thank you, Njoroge, for moderating this very well. So members, we appreciate so much that you are taking a keen interest on your retirement. We'll continue engaging. In the near future, we'll be coming to near you so that we can engage on a one-to-one kind of interaction. But please continue with the social media pages and raise the
You are on mute, Douglas. Please unmute.
When we finally come to you again on the review of the Act, please give your feedback and also on the draft regulations. So continue engaging us, continue participating as we grow your scheme, as we grow together for a social security that will give good returns and for a decent retirement. Thank you. Welcome again as we do this every other month.
Asanteni sana. Thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon and may God bless you. Asante.